Okay, so let's try a little experiment.
I'm in.
Right now, just picture a leader in your head. The very first image that pops into your brain.
Correct.
I'm betting is someone, commanding a room, maybe a CEO on a stage at a tech launch.
Or a politician at a podium, a guru on social media with millions of followers.
Exactly. They are the center of gravity. We just naturally assume authority looks like more charisma, more followers, more insight.
The person with the loudest megaphone is the one in charge. That's the basic equation we all use.
Right. But today, we are doing a deep dive into a text that takes that entire assumption and just flips it completely on its head.
It's a fascinating piece.
It's called the sovereign constraint. True authority beyond desire. And I have to be honest, this was a rough read for me.
Oh, yeah. Rough in what way?
Rough because it basically argues that everything we look for, charisma, passion, a big vision, is actually a huge red flag.
It's a very counterintuitive argument.
It says true spiritual authority, or even moral authority, doesn't come from your talents. It doesn't come from what you know. It comes exclusively from constraint.
Specifically from the point where your own human desire runs out of road.
And that's the core idea. Our authority isn't about what you can do, it's about what you no longer need.
Right.
So, okay, let's unpack that. Because when I first read authority comes where desire ends, my first thought was, so a leader should want nothing. They should be a vegetable.
It's the obvious question.
You know, if I'm a parent, I want my kid to be happy. If I'm a CEO, I want profit. Does that automatically disqualify me?
And that's where we have to get really specific about how the source defines desire. It's not about having a goal. It's not intention.
Okay.
It's talking about a specific psychological mechanism. The text says authority emerges, and I'm quoting here, where the impulse to gain, fix, prove, heal, persuade, or control no longer organizes perception.
Okay, that phrase organizes perception. It sounds a little academic. Can we break that down? What does that actually mean?
Think of it like a camera lens. If the lens is warped, every photo you take is going to be warped, right?
Right.
Desire, the need for a certain outcome, is a warp in the lens of your perception. As long as you want something from a situation, you literally can't see it clearly. You're always bending what you see to fit the outcome you want.
So if I'm a manager and I desperately need my team to like me,
Yeah.
I'm not seeing their actual performance.
Precisely. You'll ignore their mistakes because calling them out might make them upset with you. Your desire for approval is organizing what you see. You aren't seeing an employee, you're seeing a character in your personal story of being the cool boss.
Oof. Okay, that hits. The text has some really brutal examples of this.
It does.
And I want to push back on one of them because it felt so backwards to me. It says, those who want healing cannot see suffering clearly. Now, hold on. If I'm a therapist or a doctor or just a friend trying to help, shouldn't I want to heal the other person? How does that make me blind?
It sounds totally wrong, doesn't it? But let's stick with the logic of the lens. If I come to you with this desperate, burning need to fix you, who is that really about?
It's about me. About
Yeah.
my need to be the hero.
Exactly. My need to feel effective, to feel successful. I'm not really sitting with the reality of your suffering. I'm trying to erase it so that I can get my win.
Wow. So I'm basically projecting my own need for a resolution onto your pain.
And in that moment, I have zero authority. I'm not a guide. I'm a consumer. I'm consuming your problem to feed my ego.
That is heavy. It means to really help, you almost have to be detached from the outcome.
Detached from your need for a specific outcome, yes, not from caring. And the text applies this everywhere. Those who still want status cannot see truth clearly.
And the other big one was, those who still want certainty cannot see reality clearly. That's the trap of our entire era, isn't it?
We are addicted to certainty. We crave it, so we flock to any leader who promises it. But reality is messy and chaotic. So if someone is promising you 100% certainty, they're either lying or they're deluding themselves.
They're filtering out all the inconvenient data. They're not seeing reality. They're seeing a cartoon version of it that makes them feel powerful.
And we follow that cartoon because it makes us feel safe. But here's a really crucial distinction the source makes. This isn't a moral judgment. Desire isn't evil.
Right. It's not a sin to want things.
No. The source says desire is not a moral flaw. It is a perceptual distortion. This is about physics, not theology. If you're standing on a wobbly ladder, you can't paint a straight line. Doesn't make you a bad person. It just means your footing is unstable. Desire is the wobble in the ladder.
So the takeaway here is, if I have any skin in the game, if I have something to gain or lose, I am, by definition, compromised.
You have a conflict of interest with the truth. Yes.
Which brings us to modern spirituality and, frankly, modern leadership in general. The source basically says we're doing all of this completely backwards.
It's a really scathing critique. It argues that we grant authority downstream of desire. We look at the results.
You mean we see someone who's already successful?
Exactly. Oh, that person built a huge company, or they have 1 million followers, or they wrote a bestseller. We see the rewards and assume that means they're an authority.
I mean, that's literally how I choose who to listen to. If someone has a blue check mark and a big platform, I figure they must know something. Why is that a trap?
Because all those things, the followers, the money, the influence, are often the prizes for being really good at chasing what you want. And the source has this killer line: insight without constraint often amplifies distortion.
Insight amplifies distortion. That sounds like a paradox. How can insight be bad?
Think of a wolf in sheep's clothing. Now imagine that wolf has a PhD in psychology and has read every spiritual text ever written.
As a very scary wolf.
It's a much more effective wolf. The text says insight gives the ego better language, better justification, and better camouflage.
Ah.
A simple, greedy person is easy to spot. But a visionary leader who uses all the right words, community, synergy, healing, consciousness, but who still just wants power or money, they are infinitely more dangerous.
Because they know exactly which spiritual or corporate buzzwords to use to lower your defenses.
And this is why, the text argues, these spaces so often collapse into abuse or hierarchy or just spectacle. We keep granting authority to the most ambitious egos who have learned to speak the language of selflessness.
Man, that explains so many corporate meltdowns.
Yeah.
The CEO who talks about family right before laying off 5,000 people over email.
Exactly. And the source says, stop looking at the insight, stop looking at the results. You have to grant authority upstream of desire before the person gets the reward.
You have to test them before you give them the megaphone.
Yes.
Okay, but how in the world do you test for that? The source talks about how ancient traditions handled this, and I gotta say, it sounds absolutely miserable.
Intense is one word for it.
Intense is being polite. They didn't look for talent or charisma. They looked for what a person could no longer be moved by.
And they tested this by restricting, well, everything.
The list is just brutal.
Yeah.
Speech, movement, diet, sexuality, interpretation, even self-authorization.
Yeah, we list.
Let's just pause on speech. I talk for a living. If you told me I couldn't speak for a prolonged period,
And in some traditions, that could be years.
years, I think I would actually lose my mind.
And that's exactly the point. Why would you lose your mind?
Because, well, how do I explain myself? How do I defend my ideas? How do I persuade people or get them to like me? How do I get what I want?
Bingo. Speech is the ego's primary tool for manipulation. It's how we build our brand, justify our actions. You take that away, the ego begins to starve.
So these constraints, the fasting, the silence, it wasn't just about suffering for the sake of suffering.
No, the source is very clear on this. The point was not to punish. It was to test whether perception could remain intact without reward.
They were just systematically stripping away every possible dopamine hit, every coping mechanism.
Everything. If you use food for comfort, they restrict your diet. If you use sex for validation, they require celibacy. If you use talking to feel important, they impose silence.
And they just watch to see what happens.
They watch to see if you fall apart, if you get angry, if you try to cheat the system, or if you can reach a place where you simply don't need those things to feel okay.
It's a filter. It's designed to weed out anyone who is in it for the perks.
That's it. The final gate is, as the text says, only those who no longer needed something from the role could occupy it.
That's the ultimate catch-22. We'll give you the keys to the kingdom, but only if you could prove you don't actually want to drive the car.
But it makes perfect logical sense, doesn't it? If I don't need your approval, and I don't need your money, and I don't need you to tell me I'm smart.
Then you can finally be honest with me. Because I have no leverage over you, you're unbribable.
Emotionally and financially, yes.
So let's say someone actually makes it through this. They've starved their ego into submission. What is even left?
The source uses a specific word. It says what remains is orientation.
Orientation.
It's a sense of direction that isn't based on getting something. It's just stable. And this is where the source redefines authority. It's not dominance. It's reliability under constraint.
Reliability under constraint. I like that phrase.
Can I count on you to keep pointing north? Even when a storm rolls in. Even when it would be easier or more popular to point south.
The text gives a sort of checklist for what this looks like, and I want to try and apply this to, real life.
Let's do it.
First one, They do not need agreement.
Okay, picture a manager in a really tough meeting. They have to deliver bad news, and people are pushing back, they're upset. The manager with this kind of authority doesn't get defensive. They don't start trying to win the argument.
They just stand there.
They just stand there calm. They don't need you to agree with them to know that what they see is real.
Which is so unnerving because most of us, if someone disagrees, we start scrambling to justify ourselves.
Because we need their agreement to feel secure. This person doesn't.
Okay, next. They do not need followers.
This is the ultimate anti-influencer model. Think of a parent. The parent who needs to be their kid's best friend is a disaster.
Yeah, the cool mom.
Right. They won't set boundaries because they're afraid of losing their one follower. A parent with real authority sets the boundary because it's the right thing for the child, even if the kid screams, "I hate you." They don't need to be followed in that moment.
That's a great distinction. Okay, and the last one. They do not need to be believed.
This is the hardest one, I think. We all want to be believed. But think about gravity. Gravity doesn't need you to believe in it. If you step off a roof, it works every time.
Yeah.
Someone with this kind of authority speaks like gravity. Here is the reality. You can argue with it, you can deny it, but the reality will remain.
It makes them impossible to manipulate. You can't flatter them into changing their mind. You can't threaten them. They just are.
And that's exactly why the source says this kind of authority unsettles people. It says it does not persuade, it does not perform, it does not ask permission.
That one, it does not persuade. That's what I struggled with.
Oh.
Don't we want leaders who are persuasive? Isn't that part of leadership?
I think there's a difference between inspiration and persuasion. Persuasion usually implies, I need to change your mind so I can get what I want. It's sales.
Ah, okay.
True authority just stands where desire has ended. It's like a mountain. The mountain doesn't try to sell you on its majesty. It just sits there, massive and undeniable.
And we're so used to being sold to. We're used to the performance. Please like me. Please vote for me. Please buy my product.
We are conditioned to respond to leaders who are performing for us. So when someone stops performing, it can feel cold, it feels stark, but, and this is the whole point, it's the only thing that can actually be trusted.
Because it's not moving.
Their seeing does not move with pressure. That's the money line. If a leader needs your donations, their truth will eventually bend to keep the donations coming. If they need your votes, their truth will bend to the polls.
But if they've burned out all those needs,
their compass needle doesn't shake.
That's the perfect analogy. We live in a world of weather vanes. They're flashy, they spin with every new trend, every gust of public opinion.
And they are very entertaining to watch.
But if you're actually lost, a weather vane is worthless. You need the boring old compass that just points north.
And quietly does its job.
So to wrap this up, we started by thinking authority was about talent and charisma. Now we're seeing it's about the absence of need. We've learned that desire is a warped lens and that real trust comes from the person who has nothing to gain.
That's the journey.
But, practically, I'm not moving to a monastery. I'm guessing most people listening aren't either. So how do we actually use this?
You start by auditing your own lens. Before you go into that difficult conversation, ask yourself, what do I want from this outcome?
Do a quick desire check.
Yeah. Do I need to be right? Do I need them to apologize? Do I need to look smart? Just see it. And then for the next 10 minutes, try to consciously set it down.
For this conversation, I'm not going to try to win. I'm just going to try to see what's actually here.
Exactly. You can strain yourself. For the next 5 minutes, I will only ask questions. I won't defend myself. That's a micro vow of silence. You're constraining your ego to let reality in.
That is actionable.
Yeah.
And also really terrifying.
It's the trade-off. You give up the need to win, and in exchange, you get clarity.
Well, this has been a lot. Not exactly the 5 tips to be a better leader deep dive I thought it might be.
No, I think we failed on that front.
But I want to leave you with one final thought, one last question this all brings up for me.
Go for it.
The source says true authority unsettles us because it doesn't perform for our approval. So here's the question for you to chew on. How many of the leaders or influencers you follow are you listening to simply because they are performing for you? How much of your information diet is just people satisfying their need to be followed by telling you exactly what you want to hear?
And the flip side of that is, who have you dismissed? Who did you write off as boring or difficult because they weren't willing to flatter you or sell you a simple answer?
Maybe the person you find the most unsettling is the only one who's actually pointing north.
It's a very real possibility.
Go find your compasses, everyone. Thanks for diving deep with us.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next time.